Not a matter of if, but when crisis will rock your world. I'm Roshini Rajkumar, crisis strategist, licensed attorney, and host of The Crisis Files. In each case file, we explore hot topics with innovators who are in the know. Kathy Robidoux is Chief Growth Officer at Verseek, an award-winning recruiting firm that specializes in executive, professional, and interim placements. She's just the person to give us the inside scoop in the case file I call Hot Jobbing. Kathy, so many angles on the job and career front right now. Let's start with your top recommendations for any candidate.
So top recommendations, I would say be flexible with what you're willing to do right now.
Give us an example of one of those.
Example would be if you're in a job right now and you're working and you're asked to, or you see an opportunity in another department, you might not feel like you're 100% ready to do the job.
Or the fit.
Or you might not be the right fit, but take a shot at it. Don't feel like you have to have the 9 or 10 out of 10 things to that the job would require, but it's an opportunity for you to become a better employee and maybe get some new skill sets that you haven't had.
We hear the terms fractional and interim or interim work a lot. What do those terms mean?
Yep. So fractional or interim would be you're either working on a project or you're a set amount of time. So you're going to be 6 months, or you're doing a 3-month project, or just you're working with the company until the project's completed. And that has become a very, we've seen a lot of increase in that the last few months, and we predict that in 2026 we'll continue to see that as a hot market.
Do most of those end up in permanent placements?
They can. They definitely can. A lot of times they could end up in permanent places. So what we'll see is if a company wants someone full-time, we'll put an interim person in there until we find the full-time replacement. But really what we are seeing too is more project work. So companies, not avoid having an FTE, but if they don't have room for an FTE, but they don't want to overwhelm their current staff, what they'll do is they'll hire someone on a fractional or interim into a fractional or interim role.
It's a tongue twister.
I know, fraction or interim role in order to help the staff and help or complete the project, and then they don't have to bring someone.
Right, because full-time employees are not just the salary of the employee, it's the benefits package, right. It's all of these other things.
All the other things that go with having an FTE, and a lot of companies right now might not, again, need that FTE, and there's a lot of costs that come with the FTE. So this is a way to help out their team and not have them feel overwhelmed and stay on course to complete projects.
Well, I can also see how fractional and interim work might give people a sense of this company or this type of role without committing to a full-time employee position.
Absolutely. And then what will happen too is a lot of time we'll see these extended. So you sign up for a 3-month contract or a 6-month contract. We've seen people stay on for 1-2 years sometimes, depending on the project or the amount of work that's needed to be done.
All right. So definitely nothing to poo-poo. That could be a really interesting opportunity. All right. So we've seen the headlines over the last several months. Target, Amazon, Verizon, HP, a bunch of big layoffs. Now, you have taught me that a lot of these companies overcorrected during COVID, and now this is a course correction. But how should we take in these headlines?
Well, I think, one of the things we have to remember, as you and I talked about, is that during COVID, a lot of companies, there was a spike in business for a lot of these companies. So they hired. And now we're seeing more of a course correction, and companies are looking at operational efficiencies on what they need to do and who they need to have in order to be efficient and continue in the long term. So a lot of the roles that we're seeing affected are these middle management or roles that maybe were created during COVID. And it's not really that companies are all of a sudden saying we need to decrease our workforce by 5 to 10% because we're decreasing. It's more from creating a lot of opportunities.
Or there was bloat. Well, and maybe it wasn't bloat because maybe online business really picked up.
There was a spike in business.
Yeah.
The business was there, but it's not there in the long term. And then when companies are looking at future growth and streamlining processes, that's really what they're doing, is just looking at more of a long-term workforce plan.
All right, let's talk about the employees for a moment, because there are various headlines everyone's taking in. Some people are really looking at this as an opportunity for a new career or a re-career. Others are a little nervous. So what is your advice to employees, whether they're in a job and they're feeling fairly secure in the job, but they're worried maybe about AI, or could there be layoffs, as well as those that just want to start something new?
I think, one of the things I think we need to look at is whether you have a job right now or not, you want to make yourself marketable, right? So if you're within an organization, a little bit what we talked about earlier, what are skill sets you can learn that make you more marketable? And if you're not with an organization right now and you're looking for a job, what are new skills you can pick up? I just saw something that Google created an online. They have certificates now for AI and things like that. So picking up new skill sets to make you a more marketable individual, I think is a really important thing to do right now.
Yeah, no, it is really great. And I'm really big on, as a crisis strategist and communications person, controlling your narrative. Mm-hmm. And I know you want the people that you're placing and others to be in charge of their narrative. How can they do that a little more smoothly?
Sure. I think a lot of times, and I'm guilty of this too, throughout my career as an employee, we wait for the employer to come to us with the next thing or the next opportunity. And I think, to your point, you need to control your own narrative and make sure that you're vocal in reviews and with your supervisor and your employer on how you see your future within the organization, what you're willing to do, new skill sets you're willing to incorporate into your role to help out the organization. So you have to be a voice for yourself as well, and not just waiting for an employer to come to you and when they're ready. You have to make it known what you're willing to do and what you're wanting to do, and more drive your future more.
One of the things that I advise my executives, and they're mostly executives, but this can apply no matter what level of a company you are, is to have a hot list or your hot sheet. So when you sit down for your annual review, you are not just, I've got a week to get my mind in the right place. Really, all year, every quarter, you sat down with yourself and you put in a document that you've got good access to. It's very easy, whether it's on your computer or stored somewhere else, where you're putting down some of your big highlights of each quarter, your big wins individually or for your team. So then when it comes time to the annual review, you just go to those notes and you put together a one sheet that's very easy, bulletized, that you hand to your manager. So they're looking at it, you're looking at it, and you can review that. And maybe even your manager forgot about some of those things from 9 months ago, but they're here at this very crucial conversation when you're talking about possibly a raise or additional benefits, or you want to go on sabbatical for a few months, that kind of thing.
And I think that is a great idea. And I guarantee your manager probably does forget, because they're leading teams of people and they can't remember what every individual does. I would also say another thing to add in there is write down things that excite you about what you're currently doing, so that when you're in a review or you're looking at your job and maybe incorporating things into the future, you can say, here's the things I really love about this job and enjoy doing, so that if they do look to do a reorg or a restructure, the things you enjoy doing, you get to continue to do those things.
Yeah, that's a really, really great tip. And I mean, you're seeing people all over the United States. Some international placements do you do?
No.
Okay,
no
mainly U.S., but all over, all kinds of industries. What are some of the things that maybe from that insider view you can tell us that people forget about when they're looking for a job?
Well, I think they forget about, they tend to forget about that there is opportunity out there. You have to utilize all your resources. A big one is, don't wait for things to come to you. Utilize your network. Your network, I don't know how many times have we heard that's how you find jobs, is the people you know and through your network. So utilizing your network and making sure that your network knows that you're looking. Number 2, be specific about what you want. Don't ask someone in your network or reach out to someone within an organization maybe that you're trying to go work at and say, hey, I'd like to talk to you about what opportunities there are. Be very specific. Here's why I'd like to meet with you. Here's what I'm looking for. That then takes the burden off that individual and helps you drive and helps them understand exactly what you're looking for.
And I like that you say that, because often if you, the person that's seeking help or support or advice or even a new job, if you don't have a game plan and then you go to someone asking for help, even if they're your best friend, they don't want to do that job search for you.
No,
so
and they don't have the time to do it for you.
They don't.
They don't have the time. You have to make it as easy as possible for that company or that individual to help you.
And then even if they're not your best friend, if they're a stranger, they're going to be really put off if someone's referred them to you, you're going to them for help, and you don't have your own game plan, and you're not stating specifics.
Yes.
So I like that you said be specific, so important in everything.
Yes, absolutely.
Lots of hot topics in the area of paid family leave right now. And I know there are aspects of this that are national and federal, some that are state. And, we have crisis filers all over the United States that are watching and listening. What's maybe a headline on that paid family leave?
I think, the headline is don't freak out.
Don't freak out.
Everyone's freaking out. But, you really have to look at it with the paid family leave. I think it's a great thing. It shows we're supporting employees, organizations that's good for culture and things like that. But we also have to remember businesses, they need to, in order to be able to continue on, they like predictability too. And when you're paying individuals for a long period of time, that eats into, future planning, net profit, and all those types of things. So not that it's a bad thing, but I think businesses are also just trying to figure out exactly what it's going to look like. And, there's a lot of uncertainty around it. I don't think it's that. I think, there's kind of everyone thinks, oh, businesses don't want this. I don't think it's that. I think they understand the importance of it for healthy employees and workforce and the culture. It's more they have to be able to plan for the future, and there's a lot of additional costs associated with it.
Well, and this is also where we can tie in owning your narrative, controlling your narrative. If you truly are a valuable employee and you've kept in touch with your boss on a regular basis, you've done your hot sheet every year, then when you go to them and you give them a heads up, look, this is what I'm thinking about. It's really going to help my family in this way. We could do it at this quarter. We could do it at this quarter. We could do it at the back half of the year. Just even having that discussion and your boss or management team feeling like they're part of your decision might also earn you some points.
Agree. I think the more advanced notice that you can give the organization so that they can plan is gonna be better. And I think, again, it goes back to the uncertainty of it all. And, I'm sure I talked to someone last week and he said, look, my fear is all of a sudden someone comes to me, and I understand there's last minute emergencies. We all have them, and says, I'm not going to be here the next 2 months. That's
a huge gap.
Yes.
And it really sets into a lot of things, into a negative cycle, a possible crisis. So you can prevent crisis. And this is for people who don't know, if you are a business owner or in any way in management, you've got to look into what the rules are, because more and more companies now, even smaller size, are going to have to give paid family leave, time off. And then there's always abuse that can happen. So we don't want that to happen. And regulators will be looking into that too. All right. Well, before we let you go, you have your own podcast, Unscripted with Versi.
Yes.
And what has it been like for you kind of turning the tables on people and really getting into their stories? Because I've heard some of your episodes.
Yeah, it's really fun. I think, a lot of times the idea behind the podcast is, a lot of times we get caught up in titles, and someone's the CEO of this big company or the founder of a company. And yes, while that's a great big title and a grand thing to do, they're also just people like the rest of us. So it's really peeling back and getting to know the person outside of just being a title, and where they grew up and went to school, if they did go to school, and their career trajectory to kind of what got them to today. So it's been very fun. The guests are great. We call it Unscripted. We have some questions we ask, but we also just like it to flow through the conversation. And a lot of the conversation is driven by how they answer questions. So it's great.
Absolutely. Ad-lib conversations. They're the
Yeah,
best. We love them on the Crisis Files. All right, we're going to wind down with a little bit of a fire round.
Okay.
So just really questions. Kathy has no idea what I'm going to ask her. All right, so what is your favorite kind of job to place?
Favorite kind of job to place? Oh gosh, that is a tough one because we place so many within HR, IT, finance, accounting, executive, board. I think it's not as much about the job as it is when we place individuals knowing that they would have never have found this job or the opportunity unless we brought it to them. I think that's really what
that's
we
got to
like
be
the best
rewarding.
about it. Yes, very much so.
I know you're a big traveler. Where in the world do you want to go that you have not yet been?
Oh, Jesus. Gosh, that list is, my husband's like, oh, gosh. One of the big, Banff is probably one of the ones right now that's hot on my list.
Little British Columbia action.
Yeah.
All right, the Canadians. I love the Canadians. I've got 3 Canadian cousins. All right, what is your favorite wine?
That's easy. Chimney Rock, Cab Sauv.
All right, and a cocktail that you can, because Kathy and I will admit we have had some happy hours together.
Yes.
Cocktail that you recommend our crisis filers should try.
Lemon Drop Martini.
And what about on the non-alcoholic front? Are you finding anything you love?
I do like, there's actually some great non-alcoholic, if I do those, it's more probably like a bubble water with a little bit of syrup in it or something like that to spice it up.
All right. Well, good luck. You've got a big decade ahead is my prediction for you.
Thank you.
Connect directly with Kathy at Verseek.com. Today's case file is powered by Mall of America. Mall of America. Great shopping. A dazzling and dizzying variety of attractions and restaurants. Did you realize Mall of America also hosts hundreds of events each year? Everything from high-fashion runway shows to visits from the hottest musicians, pop-up celebrations ahead of movie premieres, charity-related walks, and holiday-themed experiences. You never know what you will find at our mall. For upcoming events and happenings, check out mallofamerica.com. Rate, review, and subscribe to The Crisis Files on your platform of choice. Follow us on YouTube and Instagram at The Crisis Files. Visit thecrisisfiles.com for all 4 seasons of the show. I'm Roshini Rajkumar. Join me next time on The Crisis Files.